Raiders and the Bengals, a game you could watch on NBC this weekend.
Right.
Let's start with the score here. 32-13, Cincinnati won. And again, it's pretty recent in Week 11. What do you read into that score of the Bengals? It looks like they ran away with it.
Yeah.
If you just look at the final score.
Yeah, that's where I'd go buyer beware here. Don't just look at this game and go, well, the Bengals won 32-13 on the road in Las Vegas. That'll happen again, right? No, it will not. Again, and I'm not saying they won't win. I'm not saying that. But the score is misleading. 19-point victory does not really speak to how close the football game was. 16-13, with over 5 minutes left on the clock in the fourth quarter. The Bengals went on a tough, ugly 12-play, 62-yard drive to score a touchdown to finally get some control of the football game and go up 22-13, and then got a quick turnover right after that that led to a short field touchdown to where, okay, hey, whoa, now we're up by 16 points, and it looks like we're really dominating the game. And it wasn't that way. That's where I think this game can play out and should play out in a much closer fashion, I think, the first, this time around than the final score we saw in that first matchup.
Let's pick a side of the ball to start out with. So Bengals offense against Raiders defense. Looking through your notes here, what stands out to me most and where I want to begin, you say Raiders actually match up well with the Bengals. What do you mean?
Yeah, well, the Raiders are, we talk about the Bengals, the big play Bengals, right?
Yeah.
All the big plays they make. The Raiders are a defense that they don't really give up big plays. That's kind of their MO. Is like, it's hard to make big plays against us. They're the ultimate, this is what we do defense. The ultimate.
They just play what they play no matter who they're playing against.
This is the inventor of the Seattle cover 3, Gus Bradley. Nobody coaches it better than he does. So, yes, the nuances and the things he knows as far as what to attack and within the realm of this scheme, he's special at that. And, of course, with the Seattle cover 3, hey, it's 3 deep, it's 4 under. It's predicated on not letting people get behind you.
And
so that's where I look at it to go, hey, there's one strength of the Bengals, big plays, that they couldn't create any big plays in this first matchup.
Yeah.
And this will be something to look out for in the second matchup.
I was just in a conversation about Joe Burrow in the last couple of days, and someone asked, what do you like about him? I'm like, he is a risk taker. He pushes the ball downfield. Every game you see him intermediate deep. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
But then I go back and look at this game and listen to what you say about how well the Raiders match up against them, and they don't give up big plays. He had 20 completions for only $148.
Yes, sir.
That's a bit of a flag for any quarterback about how he played that game, but especially Joe Burrow. So I know you said that they play cover 3. I'd like to hear more about what they did to keep that big play offense, because you look at Boyd, Chase, Higgins, they didn't go over 100 yards between all 3 of them.
No, I know.
Combined in that game.
I know. It was an issue. I don't think there was great understanding of how to pick apart the actual scheme of the defense.
Clearly.
Right? I've seen certain teams, and we can go back in time or whatever, where you can go, again, when you play this style of defense and they're good at it, you do have to come into the game going, got to be patient here. This is not going to be a day where I can come in and go, I think I'll throw 20 completions and for 400 yards.
Yeah.
It won't be that type of day.
Right.
You got to kind of go into the mindset of they're going to be bend, and they're going to be bend and don't break, and that's the way they are. And we got to be patient and kind of take our 5 and 6 yard completions, because they're going to continue to drop and do that.
But Joe has thrown for about 1,000 yards the last 2 weeks.
I know.
So, did you picture him backing off of this way that he's been playing?
Right.
To say, okay, this is about patience.
I think he does, and I hope he'll learn and look at the first game. Now, hopefully, they'll have a little bit better understanding as far as how to attack the scheme itself.
You would hope.
I would hope so. Again, they got to figure out the rules there as far as how they were attacked. Hey, 3 receivers to the right. They played their Seattle cover 3, but a few rules change according to the formation. It could be 3 receivers to the right, 1 to the left. It's cover 3, but it plays a little differently than 2 receivers to the right, 2 receivers to the left. It's cover 3. The rules are different within the cover 3. So you have to understand how they're playing you within that. And the teams that, have been successful against it more times than not have a million different ways, whether we go back to Brady in the Super Bowl 49 against the Seahawks, or the Super Bowl where he brought back, the Patriots against the Atlanta Falcons. You got to be able to have ways to pick it apart 6 and 8 and 10 yards at a time. The other thing I think that if we want to see a change in the positive aspect of the Bengals, and to me, it was around this time of the year where they finally went to this avenue of their offense. All right, it's 3 deep, 4 under. it's going to play like you got some single coverage on the outside. You got to be willing, like Brady in the third and fourth quarter against the Falcons in that Super Bowl, to go, I'm going to throw some deep out routes. I'm going to throw out 10-yard out routes, 20-yard out routes, 15-yard comebacks, and just go, I'm a good thrower, and my guy's good, and you're going to do that. That's, to me, again, one of the ways you have to attack it. That, stay patient with your run game. That would be the other thing I would say, too.
Yeah.
They did.
Mixon had, I think, a season-high 30 attempts in that game in Week 11.
Right. And to me, that'll be another way, too, now to couple that with the run game. It's certainly one of the bread and butter things I think they can do to, continue to impose themselves on this Raider defense, but then find the right play-action passes off of that as well. They were very chalk as far as like, well, this is cover 3. So, the slot receiver going through and the in-cut coming behind it should work really well. Well, yeah, it will against a basic cover 3. But a team that plays cover 3 all the time, they realize this is what teams do to attack it at times. So they have little rules and know what beats them to make those things harder. You got to be a little more creative in your attack against them. Patience with the run. And here's the big thing I'll say. I don't expect them to be big play Bengals this week. I don't. I think it's going to be tough sledding. And to me, this is where you asked me about Joe Burrow. Yeah. Will he change his mindset? I don't think he should. Because to me, again, I certainly favor the Bengals in the matchup. I think they're the better team. One of the ways they lose this football game is if he is too aggressive and he does hold the ball too long. Because the one area I can tell you for sure on this side of the matchup that is not in the Bengals' favor is the Bengals have issues protecting the passer. And these two and the Raiders can rush the passer.
Yeah.
And Ngakoue and Max Crosby are, bulls in a china shop. They are coming. They don't worry about anything else other than pinning their ear back and getting after the quarterback. And that, to me, is one of the ways the Bengals could lose this game if they don't have the proper plan to slow that down.
Yep.
And if Burrow doesn't have the proper clock in his head to go, wait, I know I'm Joe Magic and Joe Smooth and moving around the pocket, but I need to be a little bit more careful this week than normal weeks because they will knock it out of my hands.
I have a follow-up to that I want to ask, but I want to ask it after we see an example of this Raiders pass rush doing well Week 11 against the Bengals.
Let's do that. I think there's got to be a plan here. I do. I think throughout the game because – the one thing you say here, I mean, this is one area of the Bengals that's not quite up to speed. They're young up front. They are. And then these guys off the edge here, Max and Ngakoue, they got real speed. And this play, it's not even that bad at pass protection. All right? Now, again, through this game, in this game, if I'm the Bengals and it's an obvious passing situation, I'm going to have tight ends here. I am. If you want to throw the ball down the field, you better have some sort of presence to go, okay, wait, we're going to help our tackle a little, take the outside shoulder away so that he doesn't have to worry about the speed rush so much, and now he can kind of sit back on his heels, play for the power rush, the inside move. And then you got to have Joe Mixon in these situations too to be able to ready to chip on that side. Give your tackles a little bit of a chance. 3rd and 6, you shouldn't have to hold the ball real long, but I do think it's something that they got to keep in the back of their mind throughout the football game. All right, so here you go. Little play here, 3rd and 6. Hey, guess what? You know what? It's your cover 3 here, okay? It's from the Raiders football team. It looks like man. You're going to think it's man. It's kind of a cover 3 here, all right? And then within that, you see, first off, this is where they can learn maybe from the first time around. Second guy, there's 2 guys coming through here. There's an issue here. Boyd pops open, all right, against this cover 3 look, right? You could see he's gone. They blow it. But as he's starting to pop open, all right, Burrow's under pressure. You could see now. They chipped him. That was great. P. Ryan got him. But Max Crosby is collapsing the pocket. He's kind of waiting for a one-on-one up here, and that's getting a little physical and hairy, so he can't do that, right? And it's the cover 3 to where they play outside. It's hard to run out routes all the time, just a plain out route. Have to do something to where you attack them to push them down the field and then run the comeback, or attack them down the field to where you get them in the full-fledged run position and then you hit the brakes. To just do the normal inside release 10-yard out route, he's not going to follow you in there more times than not, but here's where you get scared, all right? Because now you hold the ball, right? He thought, and this is where, again, I think they're fooled. He thinks it's a man-to-man, all right? And within that, and this might be an actual man-to-man. I might be wrong, okay?
I think it might be.
It might be, too. Just with a call as far as passing him off to a safety, they're playing it some sort of way here. Or he was supposed to stay here, and he was supposed to take him, and now let Perryman drive on the ball. But again, the understanding or the lack of understanding of how they're being attacked, this is the issue all game long. You know, I think he looked at this and wait, I'm going to have my out route. It's sticky coverage. And I think he thought, okay, then I'll just throw the shallow cross. But they had guys there ready and waiting for that. All right? And you're right. This might be a true man-to-man here. Again, their cover 3 match a lot of the times looks like man-to-man. I would tell you, in my world, okay, and learning how to break film down for the New England Patriots, this would never be called man-to-man defense. That's why I'm erring on it. Because you never put a linebacker on a receiver. So as soon as that happens, that becomes a zone. It might have it's a zone with some man principles, but it's still considered a zone, I think, when you break down the actual coverage, even though it's playing a lot like a man. I understand. I understand it.
Let it play out from the beginning one more time.
Yep.
It's a confusing one. I feel like we could spend 10 minutes on this.
Yeah, we could.
But there's one defensive back turned his back and ran with the receiver in the slot.
Right.
That says 100% man.
Yep.
One of the safeties or corner here starts to chase 85 until he realizes he can pass him off to somebody else to play man on him.
Yes, right.
So it's like some kind of combination.
It's some sort of combination. Man. Exactly right. It is. It's something of that nature. It might, yeah, it's man. It could be their cover 3 where they just have certain guys locked too. They have a lock call. You're locked here, and we're going to pass it off. So, again, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you I got the answers for everything always.
Bottom line is the Raiders rush 4 against they block 6, and the Raiders pass rush 1.
They exactly right. Right. And that's where, to me, there was too many plays like this where they thought somebody was going to pop open, and it's like, oh, wait. And so that was the clue to me that there wasn't great understanding of the rules of the defense, and this is what they got to be careful about because, again, there's the fumble. They pick it up. They return it down to the 6-yard line, all right? And it ends up being points for the Raiders. The Raiders didn't move the ball all that effectively in this football game. This was one of their scoring drives after this. So, again, that's why I go back into – it might not be pretty. You might have to win ugly, and it might not be the big play Bengals this week. This might be a little bit of a test of like, hey, check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
And we're just going to have to be ugly and win the football game.
What if the game plan for that was that realization, like, okay, we'll give you credit. You're not going to let us be big play Bengals. We don't match up well with your front 4 rushing our passer. We would like for him to pass a lot, but for this game, we're going to start with, hey, Joe Mixon, you're getting at least 25 carries, maybe more. Would that be a good plan?
I do think it's a good plan. I do think they have an advantage in running the ball in the Raiders. I think they can overpower the Raiders front that way. I do think also, again, within that, you get in that. One of the things I wrote down, I think the Bengals should be in a lot of 2 tight end sets in this football game. Force them to come up and get in the box and play. Hey, we got to stop the run, Seattle cover 3, to where now, again, it makes it a little easier for the one-on-one matchups outside. All right, so that's certainly the 2 tight end sets, I think, could help protect your tackles when you do drop back to pass a little bit. That would be another reason I would say. But I'm all in favor of that approach. To me, that's something there to be had. And within the Raiders, too, the other thing I would say is you can't be forced out of the run game with numbers against the Raiders. Then they're always going to outnumber you with the run game. Always. It's always an 8-month. You have to. They're a lot of times down there in the 8-man box. They're just waiting to get back into their pass coverage. They're just down there in numbers to go, we scared them out of the run because of their numbers. They counted the numbers, and we outnumbered them. And now we're really in a 3-deep zone. Let's get back into our areas and take away the pass. And you go, oh, man. So you have to be patient with the run and realize that, they're going to outnumber you. But there's ways also to run the ball and equal the numbers in your favor,
right?
And that to me is something that's a part of the game. Yes, run the ball, the play action pass should be one of their ways to open up some plays down the field.
And again, they did a pretty good job of that in the first game. 30 carries for Mixon for $123, so he wasn't getting huge yardage, but they were committed to it with that kind of number, about 4 yards a carry.
Committed to it.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect of the game that was big for them is they stayed on the field and the Raiders couldn't because of the approach you're explaining. It kept it in third and manageable a lot.
Yeah.
Right? And again, where I just told you it's hard to get big plays against this defense, you keep it to 3rd and 4, you got enough plays that you can get 5 and 6 yards in the pass game, and Burrow's good enough that'll keep you on the field. And that's part of this game as well. I will be shocked if this ends up being like big play Bengals track meet and they just go up. If they do, then I go, oh man, they really cracked the code and figured out how to attack this scheme. But I don't see that happening. I don't. And Gus Bradley's too good at tweaking, the little things about the scheme that keep offenses in check.
Let's speak at the other side now. Yeah. Raiders offense, Bengals defense. Your first thought there?
Well, this is again, I don't think it's going to be easy for the Raiders here on the offensive side of the ball. The Raiders, their pass game, I know they got every pass play under the sun available to them. But there's two things I think that concern me with them. First off, the Bengals can cover their receivers. They only have one advantage, in my opinion, as far as a mismatch, and that's number 83, Darren Waller.
And he's back.
He's back, right. So that, to me, is something that you certainly got to look at, and they had no answer for it in the first matchup.
116 yards that game.
Yeah, and I would think he ends up being the chess piece where they move him around and put him in the spots to go, wait, Bengals, okay, wait, they're in this coverage because they're playing Waller this way. They're going to make him the guy that's kind of their tell-all as far as what they're attacking there. But I don't imagine them being able to throw the ball with tremendous success throughout the day. I don't. And then running the ball, the Raiders are a better run team now than they were then. That's one thing to look for to a degree. Not that they're great right now, but they're still good. And they're at a point right now where I do go, the Bengals got to respect that aspect maybe this time around more than they did the first time around, where they kind of knew it was going to be Derek Carr in the pass game had to beat him.
First part of this game, or actually the majority of this game, Chris, at Cincinnati, Las Vegas, Bengals defense did very well. Get to that fourth quarter, they started moving the ball. We have a sequence of plays here, 3 straight plays, and Waller is featured here. Game 16-6, fourth quarter just underway, but the Raiders kind of come to life here a bit offensively.
Raiders come to life, and it's all about Darren Waller, really. He's the feature of all 3 of these football plays, and that's why I have a hard time thinking they're not going to go back to the well here. Again, you see here in this formation, like Bengals in a run-stopping set. It's 2 tight ends. They're kind of in the bear set right up front. There's 5 people there. The Bengals are not like, again, as you've heard me say before, they're not huge into disguises. They're kind of a little bit like, not that this is what we do. They have a different variety of defenses, but they usually give you a pretty good clue of what's going to happen pre-snap. You're going to see here it's a bare front, and they're getting into a 2-shell defense, right? They don't try to hide it or do anything crazy that way, all right? And then, within this, it's the Darren Waller show. And to me, this is where they're going to have to find some answers here on what to do with him, because it doesn't matter whether it's zone, man, whatever, play action pass against this front, that's great, but they're compromised here as you see Waller hooking up in a cover 2 zone, because what the Bengals are doing here is when the Raiders get in these sets with the receivers close, and especially it's Deshaun Jackson, they do this to get you down. Oh no, they might run the ball, and he's in a tight set, so they can't jam him. Usually teams don't want to play jam man-to-man with a guy this close to the offensive tackle, because if he runs some shallow cross or something like that, the guy gets caught up in the trash too easily, and then it just becomes a 5-yard route, becomes wide open. So they're playing a zone to take away the old famous John Gruden play action passes, because they're trying to get Deshaun Jackson deep down the middle here. All right? Now within that, boom, easy completion for Darren Waller. To me, it's going to be the Waller show, I think, throughout the game. Let's just go right to the next play, because you can see here, again, they're going to use him in a way, to me, where we saw George Kittle do this against the Bengals a few weeks ago, where just ran like a little vertical, bent it in, and they treated him like a normal human being, and it was just like, that's too easy for one of the best tight ends in football. Well, they do the same thing here. Again, it's just straight cover 2, no hands on Darren Waller, free release down the middle of the field, boom. I mean, you're going to see Derek Carr here again. It just doesn't get any easier, right? Yeah. It just doesn't get any easier with that down the middle, down the middle, and then this guy. This is just 3 verticals, but they don't have an answer for it. They're going to have to do something here, because I think this is where they're going to definitely attack. It's going to be through Waller. After watching this game back, they're going to go back and go, wait, we didn't get enough of these formations and personnel sets where he was the first read and we put him in the spot to be the guy on the pass play. And then let's just go to the next play. To me, this will be another formation, and this came about a lot in this football game. And this is, to me, another one where I go, man, if I'm the Raiders, I'm getting a lot of these formations where either Waller's here by himself or he's split out here like this, and you got the 3 receivers, tight end up here in this one as far as the top guy. But like we always talk about, it gives you like the coverage indicator. Safety's out here on him, it's man-to-man. So now you know, like, oh, wait, we could have some man-to-man concept up here to burn their man-to-man coverage, or we can just play him and go, wait, Von Bell at 5'11", can he really cover 6'7" Darren Waller man-to-man all game? Absolutely not. They're going to have to do something there, all right? And then also what it does, again, like I said, the coverage dictates, and he sees here a tight end, all right, a linebacker out on the other tight end. He definitely knows it's a man coverage play, and they double move it. Moreau, who's not known for his down the field capabilities necessarily, this guy knows that. He's thinking, well, they'll throw him a slant or something short. Well, they give him the old okey doke and run the slant and go, and there he goes. He's got the matchup down the field. And then even added to that, again, even if he wanted to throw the ball to Waller here, look, Von Bell does a good job here, but like I would just say the same thing like what I would say if that was Gronk. I'd go, so what? Throw it to him. He's too big of a human being for Von Bell. Just put it in the area for him. To me, that's something to watch for the game where the Raiders struggled on offense in this game. This is one of their bright spots of the whole football game, and it came back to Darren Waller.
Right.
That was my big assessment of what can they do or what can they do more of. Run the ball, yes, they're better running the ball. But 2, to me, is I would go to the well on him all day long. And they're a team that we've seen Devontae Adams go off, Kittle go off. They don't necessarily treat you when you're a star and go, like, we're going to double you and take you away and do all that.
That was my next question.
Go back to the well. Go.
You know it's coming.
Yeah.
You know that's what they're going to do.
Right.
So if you like the Bengals matchup outside against the Raiders receivers, you play it that same way again. You got to do something differently against Waller.
I would think so. They got to have a plan.
What would that plan be?
Yeah, they got to have some sort of plan. Now, listen, they can come out and maybe play the same way they did and just go, let's see what the Raiders do.
Gosh,
I know, but I would have a hard time being the Raiders didn't see some of these plays and all these Waller plays and going back and going, wait, we should have called like double the amount of plays to Waller here.
Yeah.
And really force their hand. Because I'm always, again, when you have something elite about your offense, what does it do? It usually makes a defense change what they want to do to stop that. What they do, again, then they're going to have to get into a little bit of, we got to find a way to double them in certain situations, which they did to like Devontae Adams really late in the fourth quarter and overtime against the Packers.
Yeah, most of the game they didn't.
Most of the game they just let him run free, and then, he had a big statistical day. Late in the game, they finally like, all right, it's third down. Rodgers is going to throw to Adams. Let's double him.
Yeah.
Right? And, so they're going to have, they got to at least have that in their back pocket to go.
Have to.
If we're getting worn out here, they got to watch that matchup.
Sounds like you're leaning toward
I'm leaning towards the Bengals. There's no doubt they're the better football team, but this is a tough matchup for them. Again, this is a matchup year. They are better. I expect them to win. But I think the problems that I stated there do pose some problems for the Bengals, and we'll see where it goes. But it does take away their big play ability and kind of chops a leg away in that department.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.